There is only war.
Greetings, nerd! We need to pick up the pace, so already today we continue with the Primarchs' souls. We have arrived at Rogal Dorn, Primarch of the Imperial Fist Legion. If you don't know the drill, then in this series we explore and speculate about the entities used in the creation of Primarch souls. So before we jump in, please hype the video, subscribe to become part of the Legion, and check out the Audible promotion in the pinned comment. With that said, let's begin, shall we? Rogal Dorn, the stoic and resolute Primarch of the Imperial Fists, stands apart from his brothers not through flamboyant acts or fiery charisma, but by the sheer weight of his presence, a fortress made flesh. He is not a man of dramatic flair or tortured contradictions. His soul is a bastion, a thing of symmetry and immovable will, carved from bedrock and molded with duty. Where others burn with ambition or rage, Dorn endures. He is the quiet heartbeat of the Imperium's stability, the one who does not need to shout to be heard, for his silence alone speaks volumes. He embodies a kind of purity of purpose that borders on the divine, not because he is saintly or gentle, but because his clarity is absolute. Duty, loyalty, discipline, these are not choices for Dorn. They are the very structure of his being. His sense of honor is not ornamental, not performative. It is the foundation upon which he exists. In this way, he is perhaps closer to the Emperor's intent than any of his brothers. Even if he lacks the psychic brilliance of Magnus or the wild intuition of Khan, his mind is a fortress, but so too is his soul. What makes Dorn unique is not just his dedication, but his relationship to the warp itself. Unspoken, largely unnoticed even among his peers, there is something in him that causes the immaterial to falter. Not through active suppression like the pariah, nor through psychic might like a librarian. No, it's more subtle, stranger. Where Dorn stands, the warp recoils, calms, as if recognizing a force that it cannot sway. His sheer internal order acts as a nullifying field. The chaotic madness of the Immaterium struggles to take root in his presence. It is not that he denies emotion or darkness, but that he masters them so thoroughly that the warp finds no grip. This makes him uniquely impervious, not just in body and mind, but in spirit. He does not break because he was never designed with a fault line, and yet there is pain in that. A terrible, private cost, for to be unyielding is to carry every burden forever. Dorn does not bend, and so he does not heal. He absorbs every failure, every death, every betrayal, and builds it into his internal citadel, one brick after another. He cannot weep, so he builds. He cannot forget, so he fortifies. His strengths are unambiguous. Will beyond comprehension, discipline that borders on obsession, loyalty so profound it becomes a kind of a sacred vow. But his weaknesses are the same as his strengths, inverted. He cannot let go, he cannot trust instincts over calculation. He cannot forgive himself, not truly. He will hold the wall until the end of time, even if it costs him everything, even if it is not the wisest course. In this, he is both the Imperium's greatest shield and its most tragic builder. In battle, Dorn is an anchor, not the hurricane, but the moving point around which the storm rages. He is not the fastest, nor the most brilliant tactician in the improvisational sense, but he is the unbreakable one, the certainty that the line will not fail. His presence inspires, not through glamour, but through certainty. He is the one you trust to hold the gate when all else is falling apart. And perhaps that is the greatest soul of all. Not the one that shines the brightest, but the one that remains when all light has fled. Rogal Dorn is not loved as others are. He is not the hero of song or myth. But in the deepest, darkest hours of the Imperium, when all is shadow and the stars themselves seem to flicker, it is his spirit that holds the line. And in that, He is eternal. Rogal Dorn is more than a primarch. He is a myth given shape, and if one looks closely enough, beneath the cold adamantium of his manner, behind the calculating mind and the enduring silence, there is an echo of something older, something eternal. He is not merely like Atlas. He is Atlas, reinterpreted by the grim necessity of the far future. To say he carries the burden of humanity is no poetic exaggeration. It is the fundamental expression of his being. In every era, legends are retold, not with words alone, but with flesh, with choice, with sacrifice. Dorn embodies Atlas not by being condemned by gods, but by choosing to accept the burden they could not carry themselves. The Emperor, for all his might, needed hands to shape the Imperium, and among all his sons, Dorn alone never questioned the weight. He did not complain, did not resist. He took it into himself, made it indistinguishable from his identity. That is where the true parallel lies. For Atlas was punished with the heavens, but Dorn became the support structure of a heaven too shattered to remain upright without him. This is not a tragic fall from grace, it is a sublimation, a conversion of duty into divinity. Dorn's version of Atlas does not stand hunched in torment, but upright, rigid, poised like the last beam of an ancient fortress still standing while the rest crumbles. There is no audience to his struggle, no choruses to mourn him. That is why it is real. He carries the Imperium across millennia, not as a savior, but as the final wall before oblivion. In the old legends, Atlas was a titan defeated, a being of primordial strength forced into submission. But the reimagining of that myth in Dorn reveals something else, the transcendence of defeat. Dorn accepts what lesser beings would call loss and turns it into function. He makes the burden a foundation, not a punishment. The load becomes his purpose. That is what makes him unstoppable. Not that he cannot be broken, but that breaking means nothing to him. The wall must hold, the heavens must not fall. He will simply continue. What separates Dorn's Atlas from the mythic figure is that his endurance is not turned into a legend by others. It is often unnoticed, uncelebrated. There is no consolatory shrine to Dorn in the sky, no poetry sung to his sacrifice. His myth lives in the silence of siege walls, in the quiet before the assault, in the stillness of worlds that survive because he taught others how to endure. His legacy is not measured in victories, but in the survival of those who lived behind the walls he built. The Atlas myth ends with stasis, a titan beneath the sky, unmoving, his fate sealed. But Dorn's myth never ends. He becomes motion within stasis, the bearer who builds as he carries. Even in his disappearance, in that final act during the Iron Cage or the end upon the Phalanx, he is not gone. He is simply continuing the burden elsewhere, away from mortal sight. Atlas carried the heavens, Dorn carries the Imperium, and perhaps just as the stars were kept from crashing down by Atlas's shoulders, so too is mankind's flame still lit because Dorn has never let go. To look for Dorn is to miss him. He is not to be found in grand declarations or bloody legend. He is the unseen pressure, keeping everything upright. Like Atlas, his story is not about movement, it is about presence. And perhaps, in the end, that is the greatest myth of all. A being who, rather than burning the world to remake it, or defying gods to ascend, simply stands, unmoving, until the world is safe again. If one were to ask, in some forgotten age, far into the future, who carried mankind across the age of darkness, the answer might not be sung or inscribed on monuments. It may simply be felt in the walls that never fell, in the silence that held firm when the galaxy screamed. In that silence lives Atlas. In that silence, still, stands Rogal Dorn. Because at the end of the day, if Dorn wasn't the one to hold the walls of the Imperial Palace, then there would be no Imperium. Now, for what is to follow, you first must understand what I mean when I say archetypes. You see, even personalities, people if you may, have certain archetypes, like a hero or a villain. All of it has been prevalent throughout our history. A knight that slays the dragon, an evil wizard, a wise old man, explorer, creator, everyman. All of it has been within our psyche from the start, meaning that within the immaterium, all of it has resonated. You can call them embodiments of certain personality traits. We might go as far as saying embodiments of the soul's nature. If one were to trace the soul print of Rogal Dorn into the ancient patterns that echo across myth, symbol, and psyche, it becomes clear that he is not merely a figure within the Imperium's narrative, but an archetype unto himself, or perhaps the perfect vessel for a deeply buried one. He does not easily fit into the more familiar molds. He is not the hero who quests outward for glory or transformation, nor is he the trickster who appends the old ways to make room for the new. He is not the lover, nor even the judge, though echoes of their qualities may reverberate in his acts. No, Dorn moves according to a quieter, deeper pattern. He is the sentinel. The sentinel is an archetype rarely given voice in the stories we tell because it does not cry out to be seen. It does not demand recognition. It stands. That is its purpose. Where other archetypes seek change, seek movement, the sentinel seeks only to endure, to maintain, to protect the sacred structure from entropy. It is the guardian of order, not out of love for power, but because without order, all things fall. In Dorn, this archetype finds its most absolute expression. He is not the maker of the wall, nor the ruler within it. He is the one who becomes the wall, who understands on a fundamental, soul-deep level that sometimes the greatest act of courage is not in conquest, but in resistance. The sentinel does not flee, does not chase, does not evolve. He persists. There is also an aspect of the monolith archetype within Dorn. Unlike the sage or the ruler, who are centered in knowledge or authority, the monolith is about constancy. It is the unmoved mover of a society's foundation. You do not question the monolith. You build around it. You measure your path by its shadow. Dorn embodies this too, though not through arrogance or stagnation, but through the kind of inner immovability that transcends even ideology. He is not loyal because he was told to be, but because disloyalty is unthinkable. In him, there is no crack for the enemy to exploit because he has not left one for himself. And yet, even as the sentinel or monolith archetype stands strong, there is another thread interwoven in Dorn's being, a subtle, more painful one, the archetype of the wounded guardian. This is the soul who protects, not out of triumph, but out of trauma. He has seen the cost of collapse. Perhaps he witnessed it on Inuit. Perhaps he felt it in every brother lost, every city burned, every fortress that failed, and from that unspoken grief came a vow. Never again. The wounded guardian does not speak of his wound. It is hidden, but it is the axis upon which all else turns. Dorn does not speak of failure, but he builds against it obsessively. He does not allow vulnerability, not because he lacks it, but because the sight of it terrifies him. In this, he is, paradoxically, one of the most human primarchs, not because he indulges in humanity, but because he has buried it so deeply beneath duty that its tremors still guide his every act. At the very furthest edge, one might even glimpse a divine shadow over Dorn's form, the archetype of the pillar. This is older than myth, older than language. In every culture, the pillar is the thing that holds up the world. Not flashy, not venerated like gods or kings, but more essential than either. When the pillar falls, so does the world. Dorn is that, and he knows it, and he accepts it. without pride, without resentment, simply because someone must. So what is Rogal Dorn? He is the sentinel, the monolith, the wounded guardian, the living pillar. He is the archetype that exists beyond glory, beyond fame, beyond even understanding. He is the one who remains. It was relatively difficult to piece together who he was behind that stoic face of his. For me, it does seem like he is Atlas, holding the Imperium on his shoulders. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like, subscribe, and use the brand new hype feature to help the channel grow. That is the best way you can support my content without spending a dime. And trust me when I say this, it will help massively. On your way out, grab the 30 days Audible trial to listen to Warhammer audiobooks for free. Check out Patreon for some cool art, and as always, join Discord for a friendly banter. With that said, this is the end of the briefing.